So tonight what I'd like to do is give a brief history of the Herzig a family farm, growing the Christmas trees, and the challenges that I see facing agriculture in the future. The Herzig family came to Durham in 1906. The family bought a farm on South End Avenue. It was about 40 acres. And shortly thereafter, they realized that they needed to have a little bigger farm. So they had the opportunity to purchase the farm on Maiden Lane, and they did that in 1909. Here they had dairy cows, chickens, pigs, vegetable garden, typical of what people would do on a family farm. My grandfather, Walter H., developed a dairy route in Middletown, in and around the Wesleyan area, and did that for several years until his wife took sick. The other thing that was interesting was that the Herzig family had the first running water in their home in the 20s. My grandmother's brother was a plumber, so he and my grandfather got together, devised a system to provide water to the farm and house. They had a spring near the brook, erected a windmill, pumped the water some 800 feet to a hill, and then by gravity it flowed back to the farm as well as the house. You know, I think about that and I say, damn, they dug 4 feet deep through dirt, ledge, and everything else because just a couple of years ago, my son John and I ran an electrical service to the barn. We dug through ledge, and I'm saying, damn, these people somehow got a water line through here. Amazing. Let me see here. The other thing that my grandfather did was in the 20s, he began growing sweet corn and developed a business relationship with Chickarelli Farms down in Northford. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they grow a lot of vegetables, and we continued to grow corn with them through the 1990s. That was a challenge. Bob, you can attest to that. We'd get up, pick corn before we went to work. So the farm continued with about 14 cows. And then probably in the 40s, they expanded to about 30 cows. They also, in the 40s, converted from horses to tractors. And my father told me that my grandfather said, "You'll never run a farm without horses," and I guess he was proven wrong. The farm continued as a dairy farm through the 1950s, and in 1959 came decision time. My dad was milking about 30 cows. It was time, and I guess, Joe, you can attest to this, it was either getting bigger or getting out. And my dad said, well, I think it's time to get out. He had been working solely by himself with some help from my grandfather for probably 11 years without a day off. And he said, you know, I think I've had enough of this. But he still continued to have animals. We still had the farm. We continued to make hay, grow corn, continue with the garden, but we did not have cows full time. We did have one for milk. We also had some beef animals. We had some heifers, and continued the farm in some fashion. In the 1960s, my dad and mom said, you know, it's going to be very important that our kids get a college education. And they were trying to figure out how they were going to do that. And my dad said, well, I think it's time to begin selling some of the property, and that way we can get our kids through college without them incurring debt. And thanks, Dad. My sister Joyce got a education degree from Southern. I got a degree from UConn in civil engineering. Go Huskies! Anyway, so my dad ended up probably selling about 7 houses, 7 building lots, and we did get through school. My dad also was pretty instrumental in trying to be a steward of the land. If you look at the farm picture here, you'll see several farm ponds that he constructed, one being here, the other there. If you look above that second pond, he did employ some contour farming where you would grow row crops along the contour. And up on the far side there, he's also constructed some diversions to take some of the stormwater coming off the fields. So I would say he was somewhat progressive in that regard. In 1967, after having the hodgepodge of dairy cows, some beef animals, heifers and the like, my dad decided that we ought to just have beef cattle. And I think many people enjoyed seeing the beef cattle and the calving in the spring. And when we had to give that up, when Dad took sick, somebody put a sign up, "We miss the cows." Let me see here. In 1979, we decided, or my dad said, well, you got any ideas what you want to do here? And I said, well, maybe we should try growing Christmas trees. I had started growing a few for the family in the mid-70s. And in 79, we began in earnest planting Christmas trees. And here's one of the little gems right now. So tag early, because probably 8 to 10 years, maybe it'll make a mature tree. In 1984, my dad retired from Pratt & Whitney and just kind of worked the farm again full time. And he, because he always had a large garden, and people said, encouraged him, says, geez, Walt, you're growing all these vegetables, why don't you set up a small stand? And he did, and I think many of the neighbors enjoyed that. Why don't we talk a little about Christmas tree growing? It isn't quite as easy as most people think. You know, I think people think that, well, you plant a tree, come back 8, 10 years later, and it's all profit. Well, it's a little more than that. Actually, it's almost a year-round project. We usually start planting trees sometime in March. We typically get transplants like this. We'll plant them out in the field. We also do some weed control, some fertilization. And then from May through October, we're constantly mowing in between the trees. Again, we're also trying to scout to see if there's bugs, insects. Usually in late summer, we'll begin shearing, not we, John and his friends will shear. I did that for a number of years, but I've kind of retired from that aspect of it. And then in the late fall, we'll begin getting ready for the tree sales season, trying to pick up all our other junk, neaten the place up, get the equipment out for tree season, and be ready for Black Friday. We'll open the day after Thanksgiving and last as long as the tree supply lasts. Years ago, we would be open from day after Thanksgiving to Christmas Eve, and lately 2 weekends were done. The other thing, then after that, it's kind of our downtime, but you know, there's still, you got to clean up. There's stumps to cut off, dead trees to remove, etc. So it's really a year-round effort. As I look at going forward, the challenges that face agriculture, weather certainly is a big thing. You know, we used to get an inch of rain, 2 inches of rain at the most. Now we're getting 5 or 6, or we're getting none. It's either feast or fathom. The other thing is that help is an issue. There's a lot of, you know, I mean, in my case, I mean, I don't have the opportunity to provide for full-time help. I need to get help when I do specific jobs. But it's been difficult, although I will say that I have some good neighbors and good friends of John that have come and helped me out, and I really appreciate it. Also, it's tough on the family. I mean, when everybody's going to the beach and you're baling hay, it sometimes doesn't go over too big. I remember distinctly a nice 4th of July party that one of our neighbors graciously hosts. And people were at the party, and where was Warren? He was baling hay. But he did get to the party later. You know, I think in general, you know, I like to think of agriculture as having a bright future. But I think one of the things that you have to keep in mind is that you have to be willing to change and meet its challenges. And I think if you look at the Herzig family farm, there have been changes made, and we face the challenges, and I hope we can continue to do that. Thank you.